Welcome to Mission City Church. We're so glad that you're joining us online today. My name is Russell, and I am the lead pastor at Mission City. We are a community that makes Jesus known, and we hope today that you would encounter Jesus, that you would follow him with your whole life, and you would make him known wherever you go. We've got a couple of things that are coming up. Number one is on the screen right now. There's a Connect card. On that Connect card, you can take your camera app or your camera phone on your phone, and you can hover over it and it'll pop up a link to our website. And then on our menu on our website is our Connect card. It's a way for you to reach out to us if you want to volunteer, learn more about our church. You can do that also on our website. You can give at missioncitykc.com/give. Also wanted to let you guys know that our birthday, our 1-year birthday, which is crazy, is October 3rd. And so we're going to try to celebrate that in person. We'd love for you to join us if you could, if you're able. And if not, we'd love for you to join us online as well on that day. But we're super excited for what God wants to do today. We're starting a new series in the book of Genesis we're calling it Beginnings, and can't wait to see what God does and teaches us as we look at the first book in the Bible as well. And so let's just get ready. We're going to sing a few songs together, and let's praise the Lord.
I've tried so hard to see it. Took me so long to believe it, that you'd choose someone like me to carry your victory. Perfection could never earn it. You give what we don't deserve, and you take the broken piece and raise him to glory. 'Cause you are my champion. The giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you've won. I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I'm seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who hasn't conquered it all. And now I can finally see it. You're teaching me how to receive it. So let all the striving cease. This is my victory. 'Cause you are my champion. The giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you've won. I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I'm seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who hasn't conquered it all. When I lift my voice and shout, everyone comes crashing down. I have the authority Jesus has given me. So when I open up my mouth, miracles are breaking out. I have the authority Jesus has given me. So when I lift my voice and shout, everyone comes crashing down. I have the authority Jesus has given me. So when I open up my mouth, miracles start breaking out. I have the authority Jesus has given me. You are my champion. The giants fall battle you've won. I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I'm seated in the heavenly place, undefeated. In the power of your name, I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated. With the one who has conquered it all. All the poor and powerless, and all the lost and lonely, all the thieves will come confess and know that you are holy, and know that you are holy, and all will sing out hallelujah. We will cry out hallelujah. And all the hearts who are content, and all who feel unworthy, and all who hurt with nothing left, will know that you are holy, and all will sing out hallelujah. Cry out hallelujah. And shout it, go on and scream it from the mountains. Go on and tell it to the masses that He is God. And shout it, go on and scream it from the mountains. Go on and tell it to the that He is God. And shout it, go on and scream it from the mountains. Go on and tell it to the masses that He is God. Sing out hallelujah. We will cry out hallelujah. We will sing out hallelujah. God, shout it. We'll shout it. Go on and scream it from the mountains. Go on and tell it to the masses that He is God. And shout it, go on and scream it from the mountains. Go on and tell it to the masses that He is God. And we sing out hallelujah. We will cry out hallelujah. We will sing out hallelujah.
Well, again, I just want to welcome you. My name is Russell, and I'm so glad that you guys are here today. I'm really excited about this series. I've been thinking about this series for quite some time. It's a series in the book of Genesis. Now, I'm tempted. I don't know how we're going to do this. Right now, the plan is just to do kind of the first 11 chapters of Genesis, and then maybe come back to it later. Or maybe what we'll do is we'll spend 3 or 4 weeks on Genesis, and then do another topic, and then kind of go back and forth. I'm not sure how it's going to go yet, but at least from now until Christmas, we'll be looking at Genesis 1 through 11. There will be a break around our birthday, but I'm excited about that. And just for a quick overview of Genesis, really, you could divide it into 2 major sections. You could divide it much more than that if you like. Genesis 1 through 11 is kind of this global picture of just you kind of get this global kind of feel to it. And then once Abraham is introduced in Genesis chapter 12, that basically starts the rest of the Old Testament that just focuses on this family that becomes a nation. And so from literally Genesis 12 to the end of the Old Testament is just about their story from, basically becoming the big family, going into Egypt, getting in slavery, being set free by God who does that, and then starting a kingdom, and then they eventually go into exile as well. So, but that's the beginning of it. So it's kind of the 2 chunks right there. So we're going to look at the very first beginning, and today we're looking at Genesis chapter 1. And so this is talking about creation as well. And I have a history with this. I grew up great church back in Georgia, and with Bible teaching church, disciple making church. I loved growing up there, and this was actually something that we talked about a lot. Not as much at the church, but more so when we would go to a camp called Look Up. I ended up working there a couple of summers as well. Love Look Up. Still love the people. Love my time there. And but they would spend usually about every 3 or 4 years. They would talk about like Genesis 1 or just like kind of creation, and took a really hard stance on it. Like they were very much so, if you're familiar with kind of the different places, they were like young earth creationists, and I became one of those as well when I was growing up, and I would argue with my science teachers about creation and do all these different things, and I remember just this one line saying, if you couldn't trust the first books of the Bible or the first pages of the Bible, how could you trust any of it as well? And I find that really compelling. I think that's a really good thought. But I do think the funny thing is, like, fast forward maybe 10 years, maybe 5 years. I'm now in Kansas. I'm working as a student pastor of our sending church, Grace Church. And a guy wanted to talk to me about creationism, and then I was also directed to talk to this scientist about creation as well. And he actually had the same quote, but basically said, listen, like I've been studying science my entire life. He was about to retire, really bright man. And he was basically like, I don't know why God would try to deceive us based off of, he was talking about the earth being older. He's like, I don't know why God would try to deceive us by creating certain laws and certain things that scientists have discovered, and then deceiving us with the earth being young. And so he's like, I don't think God would deceive us on the first page. And if he did, then like, how could you trust him? So I was like, that's a really interesting point. And so anyway, I tell you all that to say is, like, the first few pages of the Bible are super conflicted. They're fought over. They're thought over. People fight over them. And as a church that wants to dialogue well, like, I just want to say, you might disagree with me, like, on the age of the earth. You might disagree with me on my interpretation of this. But after studying this, I don't know if the age of the universe is the question that Genesis 1 is trying to answer. Like, as I've done my homework, as I've studied the scriptures, I think that this is the simple point of Genesis 1 and 2. They're trying to say this is, God is the creator of the world. He is the creator of the universe. And specifically, the God of Israel is the creator of the universe, or he's called Yahweh, that he is the creator. And so back in that day, there were other writings, there were other creation stories, or they're called narratives, and they have their, like other nations have their own gods that are the creator of the world. And if you end up reading those, and I have read those, is you'll notice a difference in the type of story that they tell, that how they created. And Israel, I think, is trying to say, no, our God is different and set apart and higher and greater than any other gods, and he is the creator of everything. And just it's just hyper focusing on the monotheism and also the awesome power of our creator God. And so I respect people that are on both sides of the aisle on this, but at the same time, I also want to say, what does this mean for us, and what will help you along the way? Like, let's not have feuds between science and the scriptures. Let's really look and see what it says, and that God has created it, and it's amazing. Like, he is the creator of the world. I also want to say too is, and like, there is so much to cover. There is so much content. Like, my notes typically 8 to 10 pages. This is like more like 15 to 20. And so, and I'm gonna have to skip some stuff. And so just know, like, if I don't cover something that you've been asking or thinking about, it's not because I don't care about it. I'd love to, if you have a question, you can send me an email or write it on a Connect card. I'd love to reach out to you and talk. And also, we're going to set up a time to have a dialogue about this, and just an invitation if you're interested to have a conversation. Don't have a date yet for that because I want to wait and see where people are available. But if you want to talk about some of this stuff, I would love to have a dialogue with you about this. And so you can reach out to us as well, and we'll give more information about that as well. But again, what is Genesis 1 and 2 really trying to say is that God, Yahweh, is the creator of the cosmos. He is the creator of the universe, and he's created a good world. He has a good idea about what goodness is in the world, and he has given humanity a role in his creation, and we'll see what that role is as well. So let's take a look at this. So it starts out in Genesis 1:1. It says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Another way you could say that is God created the sky and the land. And now I will say, just a quick thought, I don't have time to cover this, and if you want to learn more about this, there's two kind of big camps here that would say Genesis 1:1 is like its own creation event, and then Genesis 1:2 to the end, into the early parts of Genesis 2 are like a separate, like one is focusing on like the whole of creation, the other one is focusing on specifically like almost like the promised land type stuff, versus them all being just one kind of creation act. I don't know if it matters. I'm probably more in the second camp on that. At least today, it could change if someone convinces me. But again, it's not. Big picture, God is the creator of the universe, and so He has created. And in verse 2, it says, "The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters." And so what we see in Genesis 1:2 is the earth is there, and it's without form and void. So like some people translate it as a wild waste, and that's a cool translation, I think. But I think what it's really trying to get at is the land was uninhabitable. It's probably actually covered. The waters actually covered over the land that would eventually become the dry land as well. But really, I think what it's trying to do is that God is trying to prepare us with this picture of the land, this theme of the land that's going to keep coming back and back and back throughout the Old Testament and even into the future. Like, so when we think about the nation of Israel, God had a promised land for them, and so there was a period of time when they were not in the land. Even Abraham's call, "Hey, I'm sending you to a land." And so what God is going to do is He's going to take the inhabitable and He's going to make it habitable for His people. Even now, as we wait for Jesus to come back, there's a piece of us that is that like we are waiting for God to take the inhabitable parts of our world and to make them more habitable, to make them more whole again as well. And so it actually reminds me of this Instagram like kind of phenomenon, these stories that are like how it started and how it's going. like that, so how it started, well, the land was wild and waste, and God in his creating act is going to take chaos and bring it to order, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. And so it starts with how it started to how it's going, and then now is on the other side of creation. Like we have, I'm adding one. I know I can't do that as a social media that I am, but like how it will be, right? Like it's the future, what is to come, that God is going to make it right again. So it's even in the first two verses of the Bible, you get this picture of God having a land for his people as well. And so then we get into the specific days of it, and we might fly a little bit through this because I really want to focus today on just the vocation of humanity. Like, what is the purpose of mankind? Like, why did God create us, and what does he tell us in this story as well? Yes, God is the God of Israel. And so as we look at this, there's a theme I want you to pick up. Is you're going to see this, that and God said blank, this is going to happen. And then it'll say, and God made blank. And he'll repeat basically what he said. And again, it's trying to get us to the point of where the God of Israel, Yahweh, is the creator of all things, and there should never be any doubt at all. And so it starts like this, and so day one is light, day and night, separating of day and night. So, and God said, let there be light, and there was light, and God saw that the light was good, and God separated light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening and there was morning on the first day. Here's that theme that you'll catch it right here on day two. The expanse, the separated waters. And God said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse, and it was so. And God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening and there was morning on the second day. We can talk about the expanse another day. Like you could spend a lot of time talking about it. Like, is it like this basically this water, like kind of pocket that existed in the heavens for a period of time? Because right now we don't see it anymore. Is it just like the rain clouds that he's describing? We can talk about that, other than just to say that God created this. But you see this pattern, right? That God said, and then God made. Verse 6 starts with, and God said, let there be the expanse. And the verse 6 said that. And the verse 7 says, and God made the expanse as well. Then day 3, we're rolling here, right? But then day 3, land and sea and vegetation. And notice it's seed-bearing plants, fruit-bearing plants, something that's going to produce something as well. And God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together in one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And so God basically separated, he brought the dry land up, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Don't you love that? Like, you see this word that God sees the world and it's good. And so I do want to say this. If God is the creator of the world, and I believe that he is, and this is what this is saying, and that he is calling his creation good, then God is the one who determines and sees, he's the one that gets to tell us what is good and what is not good. And it's interesting, you'll see the fall in the language there, that Eve, later when she's tempted, it talks about what she sees. She sees the fruit, that it being good. And that oftentimes, and I'm stealing away to Genesis 3, I shouldn't do this, but oftentimes, like, the tension is between us realizing, is God going to be the one that I allow to dictate what is good and evil, or is it I'm going to rely on myself as someone who can determine what good and evil is? And well, it's a good question for us and where we are at as a society and as well. And then here's the vegetation, verse 11. And God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seeds, and fruit trees bearing fruit in which their seeds, each according to its kind on earth. And it was so, and the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seeds according to their own kind, and trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, and each according to its kind. And God saw that it was good, and there were evening and there was morning on the third day. And you see this idea of being fruitful even from the vegetation that's producing. And I do want to say, like, this, I don't know why I get this picture of the fruit trees, but you know the old Willy Wonka when they're like they have the wallpaper and it has fruit wallpaper, and if you were back in that day and you just could see all the different fruit trees and they were good, you could grab them and take them. Like, I don't know why I always talk about the snozberries taste like snozberries, but it's like the apple trees taste like the apple trees, and the pear trees taste like the pear trees, and they're good and they're fresh and they're amazing. And again, it's all about this idea that God is preparing this land for humankind because he has a role for them. And it's good, and it's a good role. And so day 4, he says, sun, moon, and stars. Like, this is where God sets up seasons and days and years. And God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night. And let there be signs and for seasons and for days and for years. And let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made the 2 lights, and the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the sun and stars. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the dark, over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening and morning on the 4th day. And so God creates the moon and the stars. And there is debate here as well, just to bring this into you. Again, I'm rushing through this. I wish I had time to talk about all of this. We could spend 35 weeks in Genesis chapter 1, and you would hate me for doing that. But just to give you a little teaser, so there's kind of there's more than 2, but 2 big ideas. One is, so God like creates something, but then he also doesn't have like as you notice, there's not like the source of it, as you will. So God created light, but it looks like day 4 he creates the stars and the sun. And so some people are like, yeah, like God is, he is light, and so he's producing these things. And then some would say, no, those were probably still created even like when he created the heavens and the earth, but it's like they weren't fully realized or fully used, completed, if you will, until day 4. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know that. I'm just letting you be a part of that, and just to say, hey, listen, the creator of the universe is God. He's the God of Israel. And guess what? On day 4, he created stars and moons so that we could have seasons and days and years as well. And then here's the interesting part. The first word of blessing is introduced in day 5. So he says, and God said, let the water swarm of the living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens. And so you feel like you're talking about the expanse, like this, maybe the word sky could be used here as well. And so this is why people, going back to day 2 with the expanse, could think that the waters above are more the rain clouds, if you will. But anyway, so God created the great sea creatures, every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm according to their kind, every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good, and God blessed them. First time that God is blessing, God blessed them, saying, listen to the blessing. He says, be fruitful and multiply, fill the waters in the sea, and let the birds multiply on earth. And there was evening and there was morning on the 5th day. The blessing is to multiply, to be fruitful. And humanity is going to get that same thing in a second, to be fruitful and to multiply. But even in day 4 with the vegetations, like they're going to sprout. They're going to sprout vegetation, but God blesses the fish and the birds. Hey, multiply, multiply. In day 6 it says, and the sky said, let the earth bring forth creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things and beasts of the earth according to their kinds. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and everything that creeps on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And so there's two things that God creates: the animals. He divides them up as livestock and creeping things, and then beasts as well. And then we get to the part where we come in, as human beings come into the story. And then God said, let us make man in our image. That let us, I was talking to someone else that goes to our church. They were talking about how that's just like a proof text for the Trinity, because he says us, and there's a plurality there. And it could be just a proof text. It could be that, like, because God's making us humanity, male and female. He's also trying to show his dimension as well, his plurality as well of, I mean, we already see the Spirit hovering over the waters. We already see God speaking. And then we'll see Jesus, the Son, in kind of Genesis 3 a little bit later. And so I think there could be some merit to that as well. But that's not what we're here to talk about. So what does it mean to be made in the image of God? So it continues, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over the livestock and over all the earth and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man, or humanity, in his own image, and in the image of God he created male and female. He created them. And I just want to say too, so like historically, when I think about, like if I think about just like big picture of the Bible, we think God created, man fell, Jesus came to save us, and believe and be with him forever, which true, like great truths there. But I think sometimes we forget about our introduction as human beings before the fall on Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. Like God has given humanity a vocation, or that's a big word to say, job, to do in his good world. And he has created us in the image of God. And so, like, what does it mean to be in the image of God? So I think a couple things. Let me just give you, there's a few ideas that are out there. Some say it's like our intellect, that we are able to think at a higher level than the animals. Some say it's our emotional intelligence. Some say it's our ability to communicate. Some say it is that we have souls. And I think he actually tells us what it is in the text. So one, that we're made in the image of God, or human beings are made in the image of God. So what does that mean? It means that all human beings have intrinsic value, that you are an image bearer of God. You are an image bearer of God, and that gives you value as a human being, that you have value. And the way that we treat other human beings should be with value. The second thing is, I think as an image bearer, as someone who carries the image of God, it means that we have been given this job to do what? To have dominion over the earth. Like, we've been given the responsibility, in the same way that God is the king of the universe, that he rules and reigns in the universe, that he has given his image bearers the ability to go about their day ruling and reigning, having dominion over the world. That means that there is a responsibility for the way that you live your life. That God's purpose for you is to lead your life, to rule over your life and your family and your job and your kids, and the way that you play, and the way that you save your money, and the way that you spend your money, and the way that you give your money, and the way that you eat, the way you do everything. He's given you responsibility over this world. And that's a cool thing that God's giving you this role. I love this because, again, the people of Israel were not the only nation around them. There were different nations around them, right? And they had different understandings of this. Typically, the only image bearer of God in those nations would have been their king, or their Lord. That would have been either a sub-god or the God of that world. So the king is the representative of God, and all of you need to do what I say, because you're not the king. I'm the king. And I love this because God, in Genesis 1, it's saying, no, like all humanity bear the image of God. All humanity get to rule and reign, get to have dominion over the world. Another guy describes it as like a bent mirror, that like from the heavens, like God shines his light, his goodness, his glory. And when we are like living and being the people that God has called us to, then that sends like his glory, his name, like out to the creation as well. It's like a mirror that reflects down, like when it kind of goes up and down, it goes kind of both ways as well. Like he's given us this responsibility, and then he's allowed us, when we do it, it shines like appropriately back up to him in worship, which is, I think, amazing as well. But like, you have a vocation, you have a job that God has given you. He's given you, and like, so what gifts has he given you to live like to live in this world as well? So how do we do that? Like, how are we called to have dominion over the world? I think he tells us in 28, he says, God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. The same thing that he said to the birds and the fish. And he says, fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish and the sea and over the birds of the heavens and of every living thing that moves. So I grew up learning that this is called the social mandate. So we have a couple of like great things. You have the Great Commandment, you have the Great Commission, and this is the social mandate. But there is this call to humanity to be fruitful and multiply. That's why procreation exists. But I think that extends to the way that we live our lives. There also is this idea of filling and subduing. So I've always heard this is the idea of harnessing the potential of the world around us, harnessing the potential of God's good creation and making like it good. And so like making, like if you're a builder, like build houses and like create that and like harness the potential of your supplies and learn and like be the best builder you can. If you're in finance, like be the best financial officer you can possibly be. Learning, like helping people make money, save money, helping people who need money, like do the best that you can. If you're an artist, then like you take paint or whatever you use, or if you take music and like you create with it and you harness the potential of the world around you. You think about something like sand, which, sand is great for making sandcastles, but it's also great for making glass. And it's also great for being in microchips. Like, we have harnessed the potential of that item. And so when you look at the world as this potential fuel thing, it's almost like we can if the world's potential is in a toothpaste thing, it's like we're going to do everything we can to squeeze out, rolling the tube as best we can, so that people will experience so that we can find the potential and create with it as well. And I think this is what it looks like to be an image bearer of God, is like you have been given dominion over the world. It's like you are, easier way, you're responsible for the world around you and the world that God has given you. And he has called you to multiply. He's called you to create. He's called you to work. And he's called you to care for the world around you as well. And I think that's so you have purpose. You have purpose. You have value. God wants to use you. And so like what has God given you dominion over? Like what is he, you could say, what is he giving you responsibility for? Is it your family? Is it your friends? Is it the job that you have? Like, is it that this talent that you haven't tapped it or harnessed it yet? Like what is it? And then where can you be fruitful? Like, where can you take something and just make it better? That's what I think about when fruitful. It's like, what can you make better? What can you make better? What can you participate in and make better? What potential do you see in the world and make it better? Like you have a job. You're a part of this as an image bearer of God, and I love this. So images are typically in idol worship or in other religions, they use images to depict their God. So they take if it's the God's an elephant, or if he's the sun, they'll make a sun out of gold and they'll put it in their temple, and it'll be for them, and they'll go and worship that thing. And I love this, because what does God do? So he doesn't there's not a picture, an image of God that we could put that we should go worship. No, instead what God does is he takes his image, puts it into humanity, and he says, you go lead and rule the world. And when you do that, that is worship, that is glorifying to me. And people will see me from you. I mean, Jesus said it this way. He said, it sounds different, but it's similar. He says, you will be my witnesses to the world. You will be my witnesses to the world. He says it in Acts 1:8. Paul says it differently. He says, you will be my ambassadors. What does that mean? Image bearers, witnesses, ambassadors. God has plans and purposes for you. He wants to use you, and He's given you, He's created this world for you. And you know what? There's going to be a world to come that's going to be amazing that He has prepared for us as well. And He says, God said, behold, I've given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food, and to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has breath of life. I have given every plant for you. And it was so. And God saw everything He had made. Behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning the sixth day. And God said, hey, I've given you everything you need, your intellect, your ability, your EQ, your family. I've given you, your experience. I've given you everything you need so that you can be fruitful and you can multiply. And so we get to day 7. Start of chapter 2, and so humanity has this focus. They have this job that they've been called to have dominion and rule over the world and to care for the world and to take the world that's been given to them and harness the potential of it and to make it better, to be responsible for it. And so we're ready to go. We're ready to fight. We're ready to go do something. We're ready to make a difference. We're ready to go off the chain. Let's go do something crazy. And then what happens? So humanity's ready to go, and God says, let's rest. He says, thus the heavens and the earth were finished and all the hosts of them. And on the 7th day, God finished His work that He had done, and He rested on the 7th day from all His work that He had done. So God blessed the 7th day and made it holy because it was on it God rested for all His work and He had done that He had done in His creation. So I think this is truth. So they're created on day 6. They rest on day 7, and let's get to work again on Monday, if you will, or on day 1 again. But so you have this responsibility, you have this job to do, and there's this great theology of work in Genesis chapter 1. But before you go getting busy harnessing the potential of the world around you, before you go getting busy on being responsible for what God has given you, you must start with this place of resting with the God who created you. And they start their first day is this day of rest. And He's saying, I'm going to rest in you. It's something that continues on even. It's something that continues on even a little bit later down the road. It's something that continues on with the 10 Commandments as well. But I love this because resting is that resting is you, especially not just like Netflix binging, but like resting with God is you saying to God that I believe that you hold the world together for 4 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, however long you rest for. I believe that you hold the world together, and that even though I want to keep working, I'm going to lean into you, that you can take care of it when I don't have when my attention isn't on me. When my attention isn't on it. I trust you with my school, my job, my emails, my whatever it is. I trust you that you can hold this world together. Yes, you allow me, you have a role for me, but God, you hold the world together. It's a trust that God is going to keep things going as well. And so, in conclusion, I hope, again, I know there could be disagreements about this. I know there can be, people want to focus on different things and different camps, and I respect that. I would love to talk about that. But ultimately, is that the God of Israel is the creator of the universe. The God of Israel is the creator of the universe. He is the creator, and do you believe that? Is God the creator? He has made a good world for you. Now it falls, but he has a plan, and he has called you as His image bearers to be responsible for the world around you, to be responsible for the life that He's given you, and to lead well, to rule and reign well. To harness the potential. He has great things planned for you. And I think that Jesus came back to correct that for us. And I think that one day that we'll get to be with Him in the new heaven and the earth. It's going to be amazing. But God is the creator. And so have you worshiped Him for that? Do you acknowledge Him for that? Do you acknowledge that He has created a world and He has good things for you in the world when we follow Him and do what He's called us to do? And do you realize your value? Do you realize that God wants to use you? And he's given you responsibility. He has a plan for you. He has good things for you. And this is why he's created human beings, to be in relationship with him, but like to be responsible for his good earth. And so let's take care of it. Let's harness the potential. Let's love our neighbors. Let's care for the world around us. Let's care for the needs of people that we see and to make it better. Not so that people will praise us, but so again, like that angled mirror, so that people will see our good works and they will praise our Heavenly Father, who is the creator of the universe. And that's what Genesis 1 is about. The God of Israel is the creator. He's your creator. Are you following him? Are you being responsible? Are you doing what he's called you to do? Let's pray. So Lord Jesus, we praise you for creating us. And we do. God, we think that, just think about creation. Just think about the sun and the moon and the stars. Just think about how that should evoke worship and praise, that you are good, that you are God. God, I just pray for people here that don't feel like they're valued. God, I pray that they would know that they have value that comes from you. And God, they would know that they're not just waiting around for you to come back. God, that you have things for them to do. You have given them a place in your good world. And yeah, we mess it up so many times, but God, by your grace and by Jesus, you have transformed us. And you're transforming us, and God, that you would use us however you see fit, and you would show us and give us ideas about like, all right, Lord, what have you given me? What can I harness? What can I create? What can I be fruitful in? So we love you. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Crushing, in the pressing, you are making wine. In the soil I now surrender, you are breaking new ground. In the crushing, you are making wine. In the soil I now surrender, you are breaking new ground. So I yield to you and to your careful hand. When I trust you, I don't need to understand. Make me your vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing, but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. In the crushing, in the pressing, you are making new wine. In the soil I now surrender, you are breaking new ground. You are breaking new ground. So make me your vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing, but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. 'Cause where there is new wine, there is new power, there is new freedom. The kingdom is here. I lay down my old flames to carry
Well, thank you so much for joining us online today. We're going to be continuously looking at another one of the creation stories in Genesis chapter 2. We hope this blessed you today. If you have questions, comments, want to have a conversation with us, or want to join in on whenever we have that coffee, reach out to us, fill out a Connect card, and we'd love to talk to you. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next time.